Welcome to the Truth Expedition. I'm your host, Mark Bishovsky. On this program, we scratch, claw, dig, pry, grind to try to find some objective truth in this insane world where fact checkers lie. The media and the government propagandizes you and I, the citizens. Anyone who knows me knows I don't trust authority, knows I don't trust the government, legislators, anything. That's why this show is called the Truth Expedition, because I want to find some objective truth. My guest today is going to be John Richardson. John is the son of the late Dr. John Richardson, who back in the 60s and 70s was a regular general practice doctor who was trying to find a way to help his patients that had cancer. And he found that what he had at his fingertips wasn't working. Chemotherapy, surgeries, this, that, and the other wasn't working. And so he came across what's called amygdalin, or Laetrile is another name for this chemical, and it's in apricot seeds. And I stumbled across this because, well, I have a lot of cancer in my family. My mother died of cancer, aunts and uncles. Seems like anyone who dies in my family is dying from cancer, and so I thought I'd get ahead of it. I stumbled across this book called World Without Cancer, and I discovered these apricot seeds. And you'll find, going back to the 60s and 70s, there were tons of studies done on this chemical and how it was actually, controlling cancer, preventing cancer. There's a group of people, an ethnic group of people called the Hunza people by Pakistan and India, who they cherish apricot seeds, and they have zero cancer in their population. And so again, I read the book, and it's amazing. It's amazing, and I don't trust our current healthcare system at all. If anything, this pandemic and the scams and the lies we've been told really opened my eyes to all the other lies that might be there. And so trying to clarify and trying to figure out what we might be able to do to stay healthy has become a mission of mine. And so I would say, I eat these apricot seeds daily. Again, I'm not claiming there's a cure for cancer. Any opinion I express, any opinion that is expressed on this program by myself or a guest is our opinion. Do not take this as medical advice. This is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. But I will tell you that I eat these apricot seeds daily. I believe they say if you eat 10 a day, you can control or prevent getting cancer. But I would say you should read the book, World Without Cancer. Do your own research. But it is fascinating. And my guest today, John Richardson, will tell us much more. He owns RNC, Richardson Nutritional Center. They sell Laetrile pills, and they sell these apricot seeds. This is a 32-ounce bag. Costs about $34.99. But if you go to rncstore.com and put Truth Expedition into the discount code, you'll get 10% off the product. Again, that's rncstore.com. Use Truth Expedition for your discount. What you're going to find out today is amazing, and I'm sure you're going to dig deeper to try to find out more about this, but it truly is fascinating. I have a friend who works used to work before the scamdemic at the U in cancer research, and he says there's a saying in the field, they're going to bleed you dry before you die. And if you ever found a cure for cancer, you're not going to live to see the next day. So again, we're going to dig in here, this controversial subject. Again, I do not claim that there's a cure for cancer, but I personally believe that these can prevent cancer. So that's why I eat these. So we're going to get into this interview with John Richardson. Thanks for tuning in. All right, everybody, our guest has landed virtually, and I am so lucky, you're lucky too, to have John Richardson. John is the son of the late Dr. John Richardson. John Jr., our guest, is the president of the RNC store. That's Richardson Nutritional Center, the rncstore.com. And John is continuing to spread his father's and preserve his father's legacy by continuing to share the health benefits of vitamin B17. So we're going to get into it here. I want to thank you so much, John, for lending us some time and being with us.
It's absolutely my pleasure. When I wake up in the morning, it's it's a good day if I can tell one more person. And I've seen your video with Dr. You had Dr. You just said his name.
Kaufman.
Sorry. Dr. Kaufman. Thank you, Andy Kaufman. I've met him at a conference. I'm really not that brain dead. I've just hit my head a couple times the last couple of days helping my fiance move. So it's a good time. I'm expecting to have a great show today. So
yeah, excellent.
You've never heard before, but yeah, I see that you're an up and comer, and I like it. I always love doing a podcast and telling what I know.
Yeah, and so you have Josh Sigurdson to thank for me discovering you. He kept, he pushes the seeds and the book, and you can get this book also, World Without Cancer.
Yes.
I believe you can get it at RNC store as well, correct?
Yes, you can. Yep. Yeah.
Yes. So you got to read this book. You've got to read this book. You can potentially control and prevent cancer, but the benefits of vitamin B17 go well beyond that. And just the story of, we've all been through this huge scam these last 3 years of how the medical system and big food and big pharma, just a huge scam. Well, it's in here too. Chemotherapy, big scam. So John, tell us about yourself and your dad. And I hear you were red pilled at birth, and just give us a little background.
Yeah. It's a kind of a funny story, but G. Edward Griffin, who wrote that book, World Without Cancer, and it dedicated to my father. My father's in the front couple pages. They were great friends, and they were both members of the John Birch Society at the time, which is still around, and it's probably the OGs of being red pilled. And Ed Griffin still runs the Red Pill Expo, which is happening in August 12th this year in Des Moines, I think. I should know better where exactly it is, but I think it's in Des Moines, Iowa. And my dad and he were friends on the board of directors of the John Birch Society back in the late 60s, early 70s. And my dad was having tremendous success treating his patients with nutrition, specifically Laetrile, which he believed, and now it's been borne out time and time again, is the substance that we lack in our diet. Because if you cook food for more than 15 minutes at 350 degrees, it gets rid of all the water-soluble vitamins. So you hear about the raw food diets, and I've always heard that, raw food, who wants that? Well, it's because the vitamins that we need to help our system, whether it's scurvy and vitamin C or rickets and vitamin D, those vitamins are destroyed by overheating them, microwaving them, which we're all in the fast food, quick, gets rid of all the nutrition, and then we're just basically eating cardboard. So we have to supplement whatever it is. And my dad believed, and many thousands of other people know, that the C word, which we have to stay away from as much as we can, the C word is a deficiency disease, and the deficiency is in vitamin B17. So that's the battle my dad fought his entire life, and Ed still tells the story now. I just spoke to him 15 minutes ago on the phone, and he's live and well and still planning Red Pill Expos at 91, and he still buys Laetrile from me to this day. So he does the information, and I do the business side of it, making sure that everybody can keep getting their apricot seeds year in and year out.
Yeah, and who knows what we've seen with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and all that. Who knows how long these seeds, which I'm going to eat a few on the episode here, and I'll tell you why. Because there's this, because we'll just say there's actually a cyanide molecule in there. Is that correct?
Well, the truth of that is a little bit science fiction, a little bit science. And the truth is that the molecule is called amygdalin, and amygdalin contains cyanide, benzaldehyde, and 2 glucose molecules. And in the 70s, when my dad was telling people how the mechanism of Laetrile worked to prevent the C word, he explained that at the abnormal cells, there's a high level of unlocking enzyme called beta glucosidase. That enzyme God specifically designed to break apart amygdalin into cyanide, benzaldehyde, and 2 molecules of sugar. Cancer loves sugar. We all know that. What do the doctors do? They give you chemotherapy. They feed you donuts afterwards. So, here, eat some sugar so it fattens up. But cancer, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire, sugar onto cancer. So that's the way the mechanism works. Once it breaks apart, it's at the abnormal cell, and the benzaldehyde and cyanide, which are 2 very poisonous substances, is only released in the presence of the amygdala. Now, if that was released in all of our other body parts, that would be horrible, right? Well, there's this other enzyme that God made. It's called rhodinase, and rhodinase is the protecting enzyme. And that enzyme immediately breaks down the free benzaldehyde, not in the presence of the beta-glucosidase, but the free benzaldehyde in a healthy cell and the free cyanide are immediately broken down and allows your body to use these substances to actually use vitamin D and vitamin C even more efficiently. So here's the cool thing about amygdala and Laetrile is that it not only attacks the abnormal cells, it actually helps the healthy cells. So athletes and people that are looking for energy and things like that take it, and they get all sorts of benefits, even if they don't have the C word. So my whole life has been spent, including my father's, trying not to wait till people get it. Don't jump off the bridge and throw somebody a parachute. Eat the seeds now. Now, the problem is they taste horrible, but that is the mechanism. I just ate one. You know, you ate one too, and they don't taste great. You're not going to eat them like almonds, but they're so good for you and give you so much energy. At some trade shows, I'll eat 100 or 150 apricot seeds because everybody asks, oh, I heard these are cyanide. That's what everybody says. I heard these are poisonous. I heard you can die from eating these. You might get sick to your stomach if your body doesn't know how to assimilate them in the beginning. So I tell people start with 1 or 2 or 3. Make sure your beta-glucosidase enzymes and your rhodonase enzymes are working properly so that you can start doing it. And now if you go and you start to eat 5 or 10, even people do regularly 20, your body doesn't feel like it's getting sick because your body's dealing with it. That mechanism is the mechanism that works. And they tried in the 70s, the FDA said, it can't be the way it works because we've tried to break apart these molecules in the labs and it just won't break apart because it only breaks apart in the presence of beta-glucosidase. So that's the science, and that's as deep as I'll get because I am no scientist. I'll tell you that much. But the books are out there. There's the stories are out there. The studies are out there. In this day and age, they didn't count on us learning things from the internet that they tried to hide from us in previous generations. So people are more awake to it.
Yeah, you got to read the book, like I said, and it's
absolutely.
very, very detailed. It's a beautiful process, like John was saying, how it's what might be poisonous in the seed is only released where it needs to be released, and the rest of your body protects against it. And there's in the book there's so many. I mean, it's like the evidence is there. Dr. Segura and Krebs and your dad, and the anecdotes in here. It's not just 1 or 10. In fact, a lady I know, I'm going to have her on at some point, but she was told, you've got breast cancer, you need a double mastectomy now. She said, no, I heard about this thing, I'm going to try natural. She said, give me a year. She went and started eating these seeds and, cleaned up her diet, cut out the sugar and the alcohol. She went back to the doctor a year later, and she had no cancer. I mean, so firsthand, I know somebody. And if you read the book, I mean, so tell us a little bit more about, your dad's successes and how he, they don't want chemotherapy. Aside from vaccines now, chemo might be the biggest money-making scam there ever was. And they don't want a cure. And so if somebody comes close, they might just come to your house with machine guns and arrest you.
That's a fear that doctors have had in the past. Luckily, we're in the age of enlightenment, and I mean that sincerely. People are waking up in droves. But back in the 70s, when they were attacking my father, who was just a good Christian man, he was, they kind of made him out to be a scoundrel. He was made money, but if you sell chemotherapy, you can make millions and drive Ferraris. My dad made hundreds of thousands as a doctor and drove a Cadillac, and they made it evil. That's nothing wrong with people making money while they're helping people. There's lots of naturopaths out there doing that. But my dad used to laugh. He said, I have the highest rate of spontaneous remission found in the world, because they always said anybody that did his therapy, it must have been spontaneous remission. That was it. So he wrote a book called Laetrile Case Histories, the Richardson Cancer Clinic Experience, and it documented 69 or 70 cases of people that actually went to the actual medical hospital, got diagnosed with the C word, went through my dad's protocol, and had to go back to the hospital again and be diagnosed to be cancer-free. Like I said, I just spoke to Pat Griffin, who is my dad's co-author. She's got those 70 files still in her attic, ready to give them to me someday. She's in her 90s as well. But the science is there. And she went back years later and found many of those people are still alive, including one young man who was sent home to die. He's in the center of the book. He sent home to die. He was my age back in the early 70s. He's a 58-year-old crab fisherman in Alaska, alive and well today, after being sent home to die as a 7-year-old with cancer all over his body. So the stories aren't just from the 70s. I want to make sure that people are listening to hear that. It is coming up every day now, more and more. When I go to a trade show, I'm going to the Clay Clark event in Miami in 2 weeks on the 12th. When I go to a trade show, I get hundreds, if not at least hundreds of people come up to me and tell me their own stories. So they're happening actively, but that's never going to be on the, ABC, NBC, CBS, or even Fox News. You're never going to find out about it because they're all controlled by the big pharma. There's so much money that controls it. We've seen that with this whole vaccine situation. Yeah. But again, do you show this on YouTube?
Well, I've put a couple up there. I might try. I don't care if I get.
Okay, well, if you do, you probably want to take out the words like I just said, and the C word, anything else.
No, let's speak freely. If I put it up and I get banned, I don't care. BitChute, Odyssey, Brighteon.
It's more important to me to get the word out there, and like it's easy to tell people, don't listen to me, don't believe me. Josh says it all the time. He's a good friend of mine, by the way. I took him out to a steak dinner just recently in Scottsdale when he came to visit, because we had reached some milestones on helping people, and it's incredible the stories we get back. And if you look into this, if you want hope, you look into it. There's so many cases out there. There's websites called The Truth About Cancer. The entire thing was started from the apricot seed, and Ty and Charlene Bollinger, good friends of mine. Chris beat cancer. His whole mission started with eating apricot seeds and getting rid of his colon cancer. So, but the stories go on and on. They try to cover it up. They try to hide it. They try to hide the studies. They try to say, oh, people die of cyanide poisoning. I'm living proof that I eat 40 apricot seeds a day and have for 40 years, and I'm still alive. And Josh and I did it as a joke on the last podcast you probably saw us do. We both chomped on about 25 apricot seeds. We could barely talk, but we survived. You can see I'm still surviving. So yeah, look into it. It's a cheap solution. And I also like to tell people, you don't need me. If you change your diet and you grow your own apricot seeds, you find them someplace else, I don't care. It's not about you have to buy mine. Mine have this special mojo. No, it actually just get B17 back in your diet. I actually sell a book on my website called Cancer Free with Food. And she's a good friend of mine, Leanna Warner Gray. She writes a book that shows you if you just change your diet to healthy, low processed foods that aren't overcooked, you can wipe out anything you want as far as a metabolic disease. So you put me out of business. That's good. But if you just want it easy and want to have it, of course, we're there for that. And we know there's millions of people that are out there that can hear this message, and you're helping spread that word, because one person hears it, does something different, and they tell friends, and then it keeps going. And no matter how hard they try to suppress it, it's going to keep being told. And the more people tell it, the safer I am, right? If I'm the only one telling it, and hoarding it to myself, that's how people get in trouble. If I go away tomorrow, they're not going to stop Laetrile B17 apricot seeds. The word is getting out.
Yeah, it really is. And you may not know, John, a lot of the viewers know me, and I eat a minimum of 10 of these a day. Sometimes I forget. I have eaten as many as 50 in a day, and it's trying for me to prevent. The C word, it's a scary word, and they want to try to bury and suppress anything that might help. And in the book, they don't even claim there's a cure. It's if anything, they claim that potentially you can control it or prevent it. And it's about diet and proteolytic enzymes. So I would say, if you know someone that has cancer, you're going to want to read the book and look a little closer. These proteolytic enzymes. So the theory is that cancer is like a trophoblast. It's covered in a protein layer and electrostatic charge. But if you have proteolytic enzymes there to break down that layer, then perhaps the amygdalin can get there to do what it does. And one of the amazing stories I found in the book was the Hunza people. No cancer, and they cherish apricot seeds. They use the apricot oil, they spread it on their skin, and they eat. It's like, I think it was like 150 to 200 for an afternoon snack.
Yep. Yeah, they when they first went and studied them, people would go in, the Western medicine, and they would hand them a delicious apricot, and people would eat it. They eat the apricot and throw the pit in the ground, and the Hunzas would look at them like, "What are you, crazy? You ate the part that is not good for you. You threw away the part that's great." And they would grab it, crack it and open it and eat it right there. That's the absolute best way. And I love doing that with freshly grown apricots or apricots you get at the store, because they're not going to be able to stop you from eating those apricot seeds in there. And it's really good. So the Hunzas, yeah, they live to be 130, 140 years old, documented. And when they brought Western food and Western medicine to them, they started dying off in droves because of, our diet is not very good for you.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, I'd say that's probably the first step is stop eating processed junk. That's the first step. Just cut some sugar out, if not all sugar. The fasting, water. There's other things. The Gerson therapy. There's all kinds of things you can do. But I do want to say these things don't taste that bad. Let's not get the wrong idea. You can taste a little bit of the fruitiness of the apricot. They're bitter, but it's not like horrible. I mean,
yeah. Have you ever had marzipan?
No, I don't think so.
It's a dessert. They throw a lot of sugar in it, but marzipan is made from apricot seeds, and many people consider it a delicacy. There's a company I sell apricot seeds to that uses it for marzipan. That's not a sea treatment at all. It's a sugary dessert, but it has that same cherry apricot flavor. And I love the cherry on your symbol that I'm looking at here on the screen.
It's Cherry Tree Studios. Yeah.
Oh, I got it. That's great. See, isn't that funny? Because cherry trees is the other. Cherry seeds also have amygdalin in it. So do apple seeds. And you'll see Hollywood produces a movie that shows a woman saving apple seeds to kill her husband. Not possible, but it sure is good theater. So
yeah.
Amygdalin's found in 1,200 different foods: lima beans, millet, barley, sorghum molasses, the little seeds on the side of strawberries. So it's going to be difficult for them to ever try to take it out of our diet purposely. That's why it's hard to, but they will tell you that it's illegal to promote it for the treatment of a disease. That's the main thing that people get in trouble for. So we don't need to do that. Let's just promote it for health and another thing that's good for you to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to bring up something too here. So when it comes to if anyone's told that you've got cancer, I mean, how scary. And they corner you, they pin you, they can burn, cut, poison. When it comes to chemotherapy, there's a lot of references out there that say it's got about a 3% cure rate, maybe depending on how you cherry pick it, maybe a little more, but we all know it's relatively ineffective. It's toxic. It's poisonous to your body. It is a poison. And when they surveyed doctors, oncologists, this is the fascinating part. Over 75 to 80% will prescribe you chemotherapy, but in the same survey, 75% or more of those oncologists say that they would never use chemotherapy themselves. That tells you a lot.
Well, that's the disheartening thing when I proved to an oncology hospital, Marin General Hospital in Marin, California. A woman was there that was being treated. She was under stage 5 breast cancer. They were sending palliative care. They were treating her with CBD and B17 in combination. And in 45 days, I have photos, interview, the whole thing. In 45 days, her tumor the size of a pizza on her chest shrunk down to the size of a quarter. And she told the story of how this happened and the treatment she was using. And the nurses and doctors at this oncology department gave her a standing ovation. They wanted to bring it in. They wanted this to do. They thought they could change the world, but guess what happened? They ran the numbers and they figured out we can't be driving our Ferraris and we can't be driving our Lamborghinis and our $1 million homes in Marin County if we're treating people with something that costs them $100 a month at the most. So sadly, the system is against any natural treatments for anything, because you can't make a killing off of natural treatments for diseases that we buy. I heard one person recently tell me they spent $9,000 on proteolytic enzymes. My dad came up with a formula in the 70s we still use today. It's $58, even though that's considerably expensive for a nutritional supplement. Not $9,000 when you go through it's just, it's sad for me to realize, but the system is probably something's going to have to completely start over. And that's maybe what we're going through right now, to to where people finally realize that God created a lot of these things for us to eat that don't cost millions of dollars to stay alive. We can stay alive. A ripe, healthy age to 100 should be normal for anybody. 100 years old, healthy, happy. I don't do any pharmaceutical drugs. I've never been jabbed with anything. I don't go to the hospital unless I've got a broken leg. I just do natural remedies, and I don't worry about everybody else my age is always, oh, I'm hurting. Oh gosh, I got this, that, and the other thing. Anybody in our industry that knows the truth about, do the natural solution are healthy, happy, and doing great,
Yeah.
So, but I don't have gray hair. When you have 11 kids between my fiance and I, it'll cause you to have some gray hair. But if anybody's got a solution for gray hair, tell me what that is, because the only thing I found is in a bottle. So
yeah, nothing wrong with a little gray hair. I do want to mention, so this 2-pound bag is, I just got a bag because you can see mine's about gone here. So $34.99. It lasts months. So it is
5 months.
Yeah, so it is. I mean, it's like, you're talking a few cents, and for just general health benefits, something that's been missing from our diet. And when we talk about proteolytic enzymes, they talk about trypsin and chromatrypsin, I think, in the book. But proteolytic enzymes have become very popular now with this genocide jab for the so-called COVID virus. Now they're saying the remedy to the people that are having vaccine injuries are proteolytic enzymes, which are nattokinase, serrapeptidase, and lumbrokinase. So kind of odd that those are kind of back in the picture now too, but it's very inexpensive to eat some apricot seeds. I'd like to hear the story about your dad, going to jail. And what did they say? What was he arrested for?
He was arrested for, it ended up being arrested for practicing medicine with a restricted license. That was one of them. Also, he basically, they throw you in jail and then they kind of come up with whatever they can possibly do. Tax evasion, because they said that because Laetrile was not an actual approved nutritional supplement for cancer patients, they declared his deductions for buying all the Laetrile he bought that he sold to his patients as null and void. So it's kind of like you own in a grocery store and they say, no, you can't deduct the cost of the groceries you're selling. So at the end of the year, you've got, $2 million worth of sales and you have, $100,000 worth of profit. You're going to pay tax on the $2 million because you don't get to write off. So they came after him. The IRS came after him. The California Medical Board came after him, all for this man who literally only was trying to help people. He actually went to jail, or he got convicted after being tried 3 times. He was convicted of conspiracy to smuggle Laetrile from Mexico into the United States. And the jury finally, after being hung, they finally convicted him of a $1 fine and 3 times because it was a penalty. So he got a $3 fine. And the jury foreman said they did that out of compassion because they felt sorry for this poor doctor who kept flying down to San Diego to go to court. And he was not dealing with his patients. I have in my office, if I was doing this in my office, I have a booklet this thick of letters, handwritten letters of support of my dad when he was going through that. Just over 60 days. It will blow your mind. Sometimes I want to get them translated because it's kind of faded, but it will blow your mind. 30 days of one little booklet, 60 days of letters of support from my father while I was going through all this. So they finally did it. And then years later, it got expunged. So, he didn't die in prison or anything like that, like some people have in this area, but they took away his license. He had to switch to be a naturopath and had moved his clinic to Nevada and still saw patients. And then he eventually died of open heart surgery on the table in Houston, Texas. And a lot of people thought they took him out that way. So, I, for years along with my brother, were selling apricot seeds under a name of another company. And we were, kind of quietly doing it, never really wanting to go out and tell anything. And then 5 years ago, BuzzFeed did an article on me, and she said it was going to be a fair article. And I thought, okay, maybe times are changing. Maybe they want to get the truth out there. And so I was giving her truth and letting her know information and books and things to read and all these studies. And she came out with it. She goes, oh, hi, John, my article just came up on the net. And I just want to let you know, you're probably not going to be happy with me. And then I went and looked at the article, and it was literally the apricot seeds, these apricot seeds in the shape of a skull and crossbones with the capsules as the eyeballs. Literally, that's the front of the article. And it says something like quack doctors 1970s proven untrue cancer treatment continued on by his son, the leg of his son. And so the whole article tried to, really say horrible things about it. But so many people even then knew, if they're saying all this bad stuff about it, and I'm looking at all these articles, it's all, as they looked into it, they found, and so we had thousands of people find out about Laetrile and apricot seeds from that article. And so I kind of had a split with my brother in a positive way. He continued to do it kind of quietly, and I started going out and speaking at Red Pill Expos and conventions and having booths and things like that, and let people know about it, because this is an information war, and that's what I'm continuing to do. I'm a businessman who wants the world to change. And yeah, maybe they could take me out, but there's too many people that know about it now. So I'm just a little guy now. There's people taking way bigger risks than me out there. But I want the world to know about this. Someday in our lifetime, I want everybody to know, just like scurvy's no longer on our planet, the C word no longer has to be on our planet.
Yeah, it took a couple hundred years for them to accept the vitamin C thing. And these evil psychopaths, when you talk about your dad and getting arrested, if you get too close to the truth, like Royal Rife, his frequency, they drove him crazy. And we're seeing it right in our state, in Minnesota. Dr. Scott Jensen, you start telling the truth, and they're going to take away your license. I mean, we're seeing it with Dr. McCullough. All these people getting a little bit too close to the truth of this. Rockefeller, global elite, psychopathic freaks trying to control us and wanting us to be sick, because it's big food and big pharma, and that's how they do it.
It's a death cult. If you come to the realization, sadly, that this is a battle between good and evil, you and I are on the good side mostly. I'm sure there's some things I do once in a while when I sneak cake at night, late at 2, whatever. I sin. God, we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God, but we are on the right side, and we are on the right side of history. The other guys are on the wrong side, and we're seeing that play out. And the more it plays out, we're seeing that these people really just want to exterminate us. They think of us as ants. They'd like a lot less of us to be around so they can have this planet be their playground. And so all of these things that we never understood, now they start to come in crystal clear when we realize they really don't want us around. They really don't want us enjoying our lives and our families and being happy. They want us to be sick and spend money on them. And then when we're past the point of use, just wipe us out. And that's what this other C word, COVID, ended up doing, wiping out a lot of people that they were paying, that were on pensions or on government subsidies, and they just wiped them out.
Useless eaters, right? Useless eaters.
Useless eaters, exactly. And whatever, and you and I could talk, and I think we talked, I don't know if we were taping or not, but we talked about what is COVID. Who knows? I just know it's a plan. It was a plandemic. Good friend of mine, Mickey Willis, who's coming out with the newest plandemic. It's going to be fantastic, by the way. I've seen the previews of it at the Red Pill Expo. It's going to be amazing. But he came out with this, and more people have watched that. It was planned. To think this is an accident, a lab leak, even that I think goes along with the narrative. It was an intentional lab leak, if anything, not an accidental lab leak. And whatever was intentionally leaked is probably just cytopoisons and derivatives of things that are found in nature that are poisonous to us. So it's we've been lied to just about everything. And so I make it my life's work to try to tell this truth. This is my specialty. And so you can call me the apricot seed guy if you want. You can call me whatever. I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing this to get the word out there. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I do every day.
Yeah, and we need more people like you. It's like you said, 100% this scamdemic was planned. I mean, I knew right away. In fact, John, you may not know, I'm a respiratory therapist. I blew the whistle, and I no longer have a career. I fought these doctors, the early intubation, everything going on. I knew right away. Even in January 2020, I started investigating what this lab, and then I saw North Carolina Chapel Hill 2015 that they were playing with chimeric viruses and spikes, and I knew right away. And you look back, iatrogenic death was probably number one cause. So that's death caused by doctors in the medical system. It was the number 3 cause of death in this country. I'm sure it's number 1 right now. And the way they poison us with foods, and they put fluoride in our water, one of the most toxic chemicals known to man. But you and I, we talk about this, and it's just like it's clear. But there's so many people out there that we're just crazy. I don't know if they're brainwashed or programmed or what.
Well, yeah, it's changing. I've seen it in my lifetime because, like I said, I was born into the John Birch Society, and I'm not crazy. I'm an intelligent, sane. I have 11 kids. I go to the parent-teacher meetings. My kids play sports. I do all that. I lived kind of 2 lives because we can talk about all this stuff. I don't walk up to someone and say, "Hey, did you know the government's trying to kill you?" I don't do that. I just tell people, "Hey, you want a truth about something? You want to know about this? You want to know about that?" And it's funny because a respiratory therapist, it's been long known studies that the amygdalin and B15, which is DMG, are phenomenal for helping breathing and curing asthma. And I got to be careful with the word cure, asthma and emphysema, helping with all that. My son was a college level state champion basketball player that outran everybody, and he's never been vaccinated, and he's 31 years old now, but he used to eat his apricot seeds regularly, and he had an unfair advantage. So all these natural things are just easy by eating 5 or 10 apricot seeds a day. And we've always since the beginning of time had 100% money back guarantee. That's not about the finances. I never have anybody question. I don't try to convince somebody if they don't want to do it, but it works. So my dad, that's a quote that I use on the back of the shirt because it doesn't say what it works for, it just says Laetrile works, you bet your life. That's what my dad always said. And it's true. It's as true now as it was 100 years ago. It's as true now in our society it was in the Hunzas or the Eskimos or anybody else that eats diets high in nitrillicides. They don't have the C word.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the word is getting out. I think I have also here in my notes, long-term recovery rate. Any comments on that?
Yeah, Ed Griffin gave a speech, and I've heard other doctors say this, that if you go natural, whether it's if you are diagnosed with the C word, you go natural, whether it's just changing your diet and exercising and getting more oxygen and drinking clean water, and you don't even supplement with Laetrile, but you just eat good foods and things like that. Statistically speaking, about 86% of the people over time, have a normal life and come back to a normal life. So once again, that's getting a little bit crossing the line because other doctors can say that. So I'm just telling the story.
Right.
I'm not saying that if you do that with apricot seeds, I want to just tell people it can't hurt. Definitely doesn't hurt. I'm proof. And thousands of other people are definitely proof. And if it does do something good, more power to it. And if all these other stories that people are telling and they don't have any financial incentive, matter of fact, they have a disincentive, because if a doctor tries to promote this, they can lose their license and lose money. If it's the stories getting out there and they don't taste that great, what do you have? You're not being sold a bill of goods. So do the research and find out about it. And as Josh says, go ahead and keep doing chemotherapy, radiation, but at least eat right. And I've had doctors that have told me that it cuts the amount of time that their patients need to do chemotherapy in half. I've had doctors face to face tell me that. I had the head of oncology at UCLA Medical School quit after 14 years when his son got brain cancer, and now he sends people to Mexico to get natural treatments, including, I won't say it here, but including who. So it is getting out there. We still need to be, like all of us, we're brave, we're getting the story out there. We still need to be smart about it. And we don't need to convince somebody, because how can a $35 bag of seeds help anybody if it lasts 5 months? How can that, that's just not possible, John. If that was the case, I've had people say that to me literally in the past week. If that was the case, everybody would know about it. No, it's precisely because it works that nobody knows about it. That's precisely why nobody knows.
Yep, they want it buried 100%. And it's unfortunate that in the land of the free here in the United States that we have to watch what we say. And if you want to, go and, treat yourself in this way with a doctor overseeing it, you got to leave this country. It's unfortunate. And again, we're not claiming there's any cure here. No, not whatsoever. I'd say read the book, and you'll be pretty damn convinced there's a lot to it. But eat well.
Let me tell you something that's fun. Let me tell you something that's fun that's happened in the last couple of years. Last year, so there's a website called cancerdoctors.com. Cancerdoctors.com. Write that down or put it below your thing. I have no financial incentive. I'm not anything on it. A friend of mine put it together with so far 550 some doctors that are naturopathic, that are willing to put their name out there, that they have a natural answer to things. And they just do all the caveats and have people sign all the 503QCRTs and all the stuff they need to do to protect themselves. But they're out there helping people, and we're making ground. We're gaining ground on this. So there's also another organization that's starting a telehealth thing for frontline doctors. I don't even remember the name of it right now, but I'll try to get you the name if you follow up with me. But they charge either $69, $79, or $89 to speak on the phone at any time to a naturopathic doctor who's not going to prescribe the first aspirin or shots or any of that stuff. Some of these doctors are like the doctor you interviewed. Some of them aren't even doctors; they're naturopaths or they're doctors. And it's happening. It's happening that people are getting the word out there, and we're building, groups of people that are telling the truth, and people are, we're winning that side of the information war.
And you said it was cancerdoctors.com?
Yes, cancerdoctors.com. And it could be cancerdoctor.com, but either it's one of the. I go on it all the time, but
I'll check it out and I'll put it in the show notes here. But
put it in the show notes, and Reggie's a friend of mine, and he's a good man, and he runs his other company, does this just as a service because he knows the answers are out there. He's tired of seeing people die needlessly, so he wants the words to be out there. And also I have I think you probably heard me say on Josh's show, if you go to support@rncstore.com and ask, we'll send you out a thing that tells 17 benefits of the apricot seed without mentioning the C word. Safer. There's other reasons to take the apricot seed: hair growth, libido, oxygen capacity, exercise, stamina, all sorts of other benefits. Skin, better skin that people see from the oils and the nutrition. Zinc that's found in the apricot seeds is great for other things. So we will send that out too at support@rncstore.com. I had to my son said, "Dad, you got to stop using your name and your email and when you're doing a podcast, because I have literally thousands of emails I can't get back to." So that's why I can help the staff can help me get back to people, because I like answering people, but I do get behind on emails.
Yeah, your staff answered me. It's a miracle. Like, so lucky to have you here on this program. I mean, they answer.
It's my pleasure. It's really my pleasure. I told her when you had booked this, she said, "Oh, you got this other thing going." I said, "No, this priority. Podcasts are a priority for me because I want to help truth tellers tell the truth."
Yeah, I appreciate it, because a couple thousand, actually, it's probably going to end up being more like 5,000-6,000 minimum at the rate we're going are going to see this. And I know we're getting towards the end here, but I did have one more question. So at the rncstore.com, you can get the apricot seeds, you can get the book. You can also get Laetrile capsules, correct? And
yes.
Is there one better than the other, in your opinion?
Great question. It's all commonly asked. I think the seeds is the best solution. But sometimes if you need extra power, you want to get the purified version. That's probably the best way I can put it. The seeds is what I do regularly if you're traveling. But a seed has 20 milligrams of Laetrile in it. You have to take 25 seeds and reduce it down to just the Laetrile that's in it to make a 500 milligram capsule. So, when someone is battling something, we'll put it that way, they'll take up to 6 of those 500 milligram capsules a day. But again, that's a fine lines. We just sell it as a supplementation. And my dad said, if you've had the C word and you've come back from it, you need to be doing 500 milligrams a day for the rest of your life. And if you are just trying to be preventative, 100 to 200 milligrams a day. And that's why it's kind of commonly recommended to do 5 to 10 seeds a day. So again, what can it hurt? So what's better? That's a personal. We sell it in ground up form. A lot of people use it for their pets, put it in smoothies. We sell it in ground up capsules because people don't like the taste of the seeds. On a given day, I'll eat the seeds. That's my favorite thing. But if I'm traveling, I'll eat the capsules. And my fiance said she's noticed an amazing difference in her skin. She's super healthy, but she's noticed an amazing difference in her skin. And that's just her subjective, understanding of what's going on. It is a necessary nutrient that I think that we need to have in our diet. You can get it from 1,200 different foods, or you can take it in seeds or capsules or whatever is the easiest for you.
Yeah, and I think, it's always better to use a whole food. So eating the seed is a food versus anything in a capsule. So there's going to be complementary, potentially molecules within the food that will, help enhance the benefits of the Laetrile, or the amygdalin, I should say. It
also helps with bad breath. They actually do scientifically help with bad breath. So
good to know. And so, it's rncstore.com. You can get the book. You can get the seeds. Use Truth Expedition at checkout to get your 10% off. Is there anything else you'd like to say, John?
No, I really would like to say thank you. And anytime you want to come back and ask other questions, we can do a 15-minute segment and just an update or whatever. I go to these Clay Clark events and find out new and exciting things and new exciting people. I'm very excited about what's going on, even though the evil is rampant out there. But people are waking up in droves in hotels and in hospitals and in airports and grocery stores. People are waking up in droves, and you are part of that. And I thank you. And I'm excited to be a part of this. I really, really am excited to be a part of this awakening.
I am too. It's a great enlightenment. And, sometimes, as I said, sometimes maybe things got to get a little worse, not worse for me, but for the rest of the people to be enlightened too, so that we can have a world where we're at peace and love, conquers the day, and where people want to help one another instead of, control other people. So it's, again, John, thank you so much for joining us today. My audience is blessed to have you. I'm blessed to have you, and I'm sure we'll talk again. And so don't tread on me. Don't shed on me. Stay free, everybody.